Hello, sweet friends. I'm Hannah. This is Sweet Fern Homestead channel. And today I am pricking out celery and just chatting mostly about dreams, something I've been thinking about for a while. I started my work as a holistic health coach 13 years ago, started running online programs for women, and I began it all around connecting back to ourselves after becoming mothers, having felt like I had really lost myself. And then things really started to become a lot about dreaming, about learning how to, not give up on not only do we give up on dreams, we stop dreaming. At some point we stop dreaming. I know that I did, and I felt really lost and disconnected from what I wanted. I needed permission to dream again. And becoming a health coach really gave that back to me, and working with people online really gave that back to me. When I started this channel, I made a video called The Fence That Love Built, and I was just learning. It took me weeks to make that video. I'm not even kidding. I didn't know how to use iMovie. I did not know what I was doing. I was trying to learn everything on that video, and it was really fun, and I loved the process. I enjoyed it so much. And for me, starting this homestead is all about living in that dream now, whether the details look like we want them to or not. It's about the feeling of the dream, and that we can be inside of it now. For me, I kept thinking I need to, I can't be in suburbia to start my homestead. I need acres of land, and I need to be, somewhere where I can have goats and pigs and all of that. And if I had just waited, that would have been, we're waiting for our kids to graduate high school. We're a blended family, so we can't just up and leave. We have a responsibility to live in the area where their other parents are. And so we're waiting until they've all graduated and giving them, a home base here where they go to school. And so I could have been waiting 7-8 years to have that farm, to build that homestead. And I don't know how much of myself would have been lost had I waited all of that time. And so I decided that I was going to start it now. And Dave is such a dream weaver, and he was on board, and he's like, let's do it. Let's build the farm. And so we built the farm. And we can't have every aspect of it that we want. We can't have goats here. But I have learned how to grow food. I am learning how to grow food. I am learning how to preserve food. I'm understanding sustainable living practices. He has gone from somebody who couldn't stand to see a dandelion in his yard to having this beautiful lawn filled with clovers and dandelion and whatever other beautiful things grow out in it. We don't water it. We don't irrigate it. We just let it be. And over time, as we have stopped killing those weeds, what you will find is your lawn will not suffer in those dry times in summer, because it has all of these wonderful things in there, these clovers and these, dandelions. This is the first food for the bees. We have people killing everything that grows in their lawn except what they consider perfect grass. And as you do that, when the bees are waking up, where is their food? Where is their first food? So, he's gone from someone, when I met him, who used Roundup and every chemical fertilizer, weed suppressor on the lawn, to someone who knows so much about regenerative farming and sustainability practices, who makes his own compost, who's building things. It's been beautiful to witness. And that was a big dream of mine, for him and I to be on the same page when it came to things like that. It was hard for me to watch him spraying things. I would not have grown food if he was still spraying those chemicals. I wouldn't let my dogs out. I wouldn't let my kids out. I'm actually shocked at the amount of people who, knowing what we know in this world, still continue to use those practices to put chemicals on their lawn to kill such beautiful things for the idea that we need some perfect lawn to compete with our neighbors. And that's obviously coming from suburbia. You know, I don't think that out in the country there's quite that idea that you need the perfect lawn, but certainly I'm sure it is. I'm sure it exists everywhere. So over time, we've both changed so much. He's learned, I've learned, we've come together on all these projects. We're growing our own food. We're harvesting so much. We're learning about soil. We're learning about chicken. We've had 2 roosters that we've had to bring to other places. One was we were able to bring back to the place we got it, and one we were able to donate to a farm, and we get little pictures of the rooster, little Frizzle at this farm. And someday I'll be able to have a rooster, but not in suburbia, not in my suburban homestead. And I'm so encouraged by people. I'm so encouraged by people who during this pandemic said, hey, I'm going to grow my own food, or I'm going to plant a pollinator garden for the bees, or I'm going to stop using chemicals on my lawn. I'm going to dig deeper into sustainability practices, or learning how to build no-dig beds, which is just, you know, so much fun and rewarding, and a great way to use your boxes that I know a lot of us have piled up. Anyway, at some point I kind of lost track. I started to fall into this idea that my channel wasn't growing fast enough, that I was watching videos on how to, you know, do this and do that, and all this, like, you're doing everything wrong and you should be doing this and you should be doing that, and it made me feel like my original intent for this, which was really just to say, hey, we can have the dream. We can have the dream now. And it may be that you live somewhere with no yard and you start with grow bags on your porch. You start with little pots. It doesn't matter how you begin, and your dream may not be of having a homestead or growing your own food, but you can have parts of that dream through the feeling now. The details will look different, but you can get that feeling. And isn't that what we're after? Isn't that everything for us, is being in that feeling? I'm pricking out celery. I'm beginning my spring garden, and I'm getting a little bit more clear on how I want to show up in all the different parts of my life, on this channel, through my work, in my relationships with my kids. What is it that how is it that I want to feel? How do I want to feel? And I'm starting to get more clear on that again after a pretty dark winter. Here's some of the celery pricked out. You can see some of them have their first set of true leaves and some of them don't. And the reason that I'm doing this now rather than waiting until they have more leaves is because it's almost pepper and tomato planting time. I have a very small space upstairs for starting the seeds, and once they get pricked out, they go into a different spot downstairs. The upstairs is where the heater is and the double south-facing windows. So if I can get these out, I will have space for those tomatoes and peppers, and that's going to be quite a bit of real estate. And so I have so many, this is about a quarter of what I have for celery. I certainly don't need that much celery. I'm planning to harvest a lot of it way more tender than I did last year, because last year we had kind of a family emergency, and it lasted for a while, and I needed to be very present to that. And so the celery just kept growing and growing and growing, and it became really tough. I've been using it in stocks, you know, like soup broth stocks, bone broth. but it really wasn't good for fresh eating. So I'm gonna try to harvest some of this a little bit younger and a little bit more tender, in which case I think I can plant a lot more celery. So I'm just experimenting. Again, another reason for making these videos is I want to tell you that you don't have to know how to do everything. Everybody who has these beautiful gardens now was once where you are now, or where I am now, in the beginning stages, saying, this fascinates me. I want to learn how to do this. This is so important to me, to grow these things in my earth, in my soil, to get my hands dirty, to know where my food comes, to have that connection to the earth, to the soil, to the food. And so everyone started out at the same place, where somebody who now grows beautiful celery once had never grown celery before. We all start at the beginning, and spring is the time of beginning. Spring is renewal. Spring is like clearing, excavating, saying, okay, what needs to be uncovered? And as we begin to plant, so much of ourselves becomes alive as these little seeds and shoots and plants start to grow. There is a deep connection. You will hear people talk about the connection between mental health and gardening. And that's because it's as true as anything I know to be true. I'm 3 years sober, and I've been doing my garden now for 3 years, and it is my healer. It is my healer. When I am outside, when I am even just sitting here pricking out this celery, I am healing parts of myself. I am healing my insides. Before I sat down to do this today, I was having a real moment, real vulnerability, just feeling like not okay. And I sat down and I got my hands in the soil and I started talking to you, and it changes everything. It changes everything. I promise you. If there is some sadness in your heart, if you are struggling, plant some seeds. Touch the earth. Take your shoes and socks off and go walk in the grass. Preferably grass that has not been sprayed with Roundup. It changes you. It heals you. And there's a lot of science behind that, but I'm just going to tell you, trust me. These gardens grow us. These gardens heal us. Okay. I'm going to get this rest of the celery pricked out. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you.